So now that we're in the middle of summer in the Milky Way core season, I wanted to share a quick overview of the Nightlog Milky Way planner app that I built. You can use it to plan out your Milky Way shooting locations and some of your composition details. So I'll quickly share my screen to walk you through how that works. So as you can see here, this is what the app looks like when you open. It moves to the shoot tab here. But we're actually going to start in the gear tab because in order to get the best results, that's where you should start. And you go here and you need to make sure you get your cameras and your lenses added. You can see I already have my cameras and lenses added here. So if we pick my Sony a7R4, you can see this is a specified as a full frame sensor. And you have to provide the sensor width in pixels. And then you can set the default here. So these are used for doing some of the calculations in the calculators that we'll talk about later. And so you can, when you create it, you'll hit add all the details and you'll have save changes. And then your camera will be available. And you'll come over to your lenses tab and then you'll hit the plus sign here again to create a new lens. And you can add your lens. For example, I have a Sony 24mm lens. And then the focal length 24 millimeters, aperture, and then I can maybe set this as my default lens and then save changes. Alright, so now that we have some cameras and lenses added, then you can do this for all of your cameras and all of your lenses, regardless of your manufacturer and like how you intend to use them. You can just add them all here as a reference. So then it'll make it easier for using in the rest of the planning throughout this app. So next thing we're going to go look at is a trip here. So for this example, we're going to actually walk through a specific image that I took on a trip that I did last month to Crested Butte to capture the wildflowers. So what you would do is if you were coming here, there was no trips planned and you want to create a new trip, you would hit the plus button on the top here. And then that would bring you to a page here. It looks something like this. So you, for an initial trip, you really don't have to add many details. You can just say, give it a name, maybe add some notes on here if there's anything you care to add there. And then if you're just planning it, like for me, right, this trip is done, right? So I should be able to mark it as done and then save changes. And so within this this trip here, right, you'll see that there's a whole bunch of different shoots. So a shoot, in my definition, is just a very specific image that you're planning to capture, right? So for this example, let's pick the mining structure one here. And my plan was at this specific location to shoot the Milky Way over this structure here. So I went there at like dusk or something like this. And I used the AR overlay here. You can see the Milky Way overlaid on the structure, so you could kind of get a rough idea where the Milky Way would be relative to the composition. This is, I think, 24 millimeters specified on the bottom here. And so you can see that there should be some composition between the Milky Way and the structure here. And so you can also see this is like at 2 a.m. and so it's a pretty late in the evening shot. But as you can see the exact date and whatever, this is coming from PhotoPill's overlay, which works really well. So this app is not intended to replace any apps like PhotoPills or like any other of the planning apps that you might be using. You can use this in conjunction with that. It just provides a simple interface for making a specific plan for your trip. And then there's some other added like tools that we'll talk about at the very end. So yeah, so you can see here that I have planning images and you can see exact locations as well here. And then at the very end, you can see that there's a final image. So this is the final composition I ended up with. So I ended up being a little bit further away from the mining structure, and then the Milky Way overlaid slightly differently than the original plan, but you can see that the plan that I started with was pretty close to what I actually ended up with. So the idea here is just to be able to structure things like this. And so if you want to plan for 4 or 5 images in a single night and you're moving from location to location, this will allow you to get directions directly to your location. So let's look at how that works. So let's say I want to add another image for the plan here. We'll call this, I don't know, the image A, since I can't really type with my my computer mouse here. We don't really need to give it a schedule, but if we give it a schedule, say July 7th, and then we're going to pick a location. So let's say it's a new location. So I can use my location since I don't need to reveal exactly where I am. We can go to the map here and see if I can, I think, for some reason this is not zooming out. All right, I will pinch zoom on my phone here. Scroll down here. We'll go down to the mountains here, and we'll pretend we want to take a picture like in this location here, kind of north view of the mountain. The map here is not showing details. That is maybe a feature for a future version. This is just an initial version. So we'll say we're going to use that location. It will save the longitude and latitude, and then it will automatically get the elevation. And if you want to add the Bortle class to the location, you can add that here. So I don't think you can actually get to the location that I pinned there. It's just probably in the middle of a mountain or something. But like it's just for this example, we'll just call this one Snuffles because it's the mountain that's nearby. And we'll say, can I get there in the notes here? And then I'll save the location. And so now we have the shoot titled, let's call the shoot Snuffles maybe. And then it has a time, a day, a title, a date, a location, and then a plan. And then I can say I want to use the Sony a7R4 with my 24mm lens because that should give me a nice wide field of view. I should be able to see the mountain peak along with the Milky Way. So you can add any notes here specific to this shoot. You can say maybe, I don't know, this is the 3rd image out of like 4 or something maybe, if you have 4 planned in a row. And then you can save this shoot. And so you can see here now that this shoot doesn't make sense in this specific trip, but like you can see how I added a specific image to, or image plan to this shoot. And then I can go here to this thing and I can click on directions, and then I can open up in my favorite Maps app to navigate exactly to that location. And then it makes it very easy if you, like, for example, are capturing the wildflowers like I was on my trip last month. Maybe there is a specific like with the loop, and they have like these, like they're almost, I don't know, like lavender like plants sort of, and they have these like blooms that are together, at least a lot of the ones in some of the locations in Crested Butte. And so you could say, oh, this one is looking really good on this specific day, and so then you can the dark find your exact location again easily, right? And so that was really helpful for me in my last few trips. And then if you want, you can directly have a shoot. The shoots are not specifically tied to a trip necessarily. So if you just have a one-off shoot that's not part of any planned trip, you can just add that here. And you can see that there's a bunch of images that I plan to capture, and then there's some that I've actually shot. And so you could, when you're finished with your shoot, for example here, I went out and got the shot. I could re-specify this as, instead of a plan, a shot. I'll save changes, and then I can add different images here. So if I have screenshots from PhotoPills or Planet Pro, I can add those here, and then the resulting image, you can tie all of these things together so you can kind of see and see how your plan went, kind of have things more organized. Sometimes it can be hard to find your images in your camera roll. So yeah, it's kind of how the this whole trip shoots. And then if you need to see your location specifically, you can see those here and find all the locations. And so yeah, so this is the basic planning part of the app. So one other thing that's loosely tied to this is the map. So all the locations that you add will be added to this map, and you can see that I've mostly been imaging and planning in my home area of Colorado. So you can also some New Mexico here. You can see along this line here of places where I plan to capture images, and some of which I've already captured. So if we go over to the calculator here, so these are quite different from the actual plan. So this is getting down to the very specific image that you're trying to capture. So this first tab is the field of view tab. So my goal here is I frequently want to know what is the field of view in degrees of a specific lens and camera combination. So for example, if we go back to the A7R4 and we pick the 24mm lens, you can see that horizontally there will be a 74-ish degree field of view horizontally and 53 degrees vertically and diagonally. And so then you can map this to different things. So you can use this for panoramas, or you can use this for mapping into your stellarium to see what your field of view will be on a particular image, how much of the sky will be visible, and where it will be in the composition. And then you can do this for any combination, right? So if I do something even with my remote telescope, you can see here, if I do that for the camera is my ZWO camera, and which is dedicated for the Deep Sky Astro, and then my telescope, you can see the field of view of my remote telescope here. And so you can see a bunch of interesting other details, crop factor, if you're interested in that sort of thing. And so basically this works for any combination of my cameras and lenses here, so I can mix and match things and have a really good idea what I'll be able to see. So this would pair very well with Planet Pro's angle, and also PhotoPills has a similar tool where you can see the degree field of view. So this can be very helpful for planning a shot. And you have trails here. So this is a little bit more complex of a concept. So when you're doing star trails, it might be interesting to know, for a specific duration of exposure, how long the trails will appear in your image. And so you can pick your camera, your lens here, your focal length, your exposure time. So if you want to set your exposure to 3,000 seconds here, which is, I believe, around 50 minutes, you can scroll down here and see that if it's pointing towards the equator, you'll see that there's a longer trail length. If you move 30 degrees away, you'll see a shorter trail length, because as you move closer to Polaris, there's less star trailing. So this is mostly intended for the northern hemisphere here. And then 60 degrees, it'll be even shorter because you're closer to Polaris. And then at Polaris, it says the trail length is 0. So this is one area where I want to spend more time in thinking about how I want this to show up, because Polaris does trail more than 0. If you've tried star trails pointing, Polaris is not in the very center north. But it will trail more than 0 degrees. So this is not quite accurate, but it's a relative reference. So I have to figure out what the app should be doing in this specific case. But for reference, this is for the view towards the south, if you will, or the east and west here. This is a really useful reference for how much the stars will be trailing. through your frame. So then we have two different types of exposure here. So the first one is, this is an untracked exposure recommendation. So basically what it does is you pick your camera and your lens, and then it will tell you what settings you should be using, right? So if you're going out and you're confused about like what the exposure should be, like for my example with the A7R4 with the 24mm lens, aperture f1.4, you can shoot for about 13 seconds, ISO 3200, and this should give you a good exposure, right? So this this exposure works really well for single exposures where the sky and the foreground are relatively well exposed. That's what this recommendation is for. Obviously, like my recommendation is if you're going out and especially if you're just getting started, try a lot of different things. So this is again just a recommendation. You should like look at the conditions and other things, like maybe if there's light pollution in the sky or in the foreground, it might be appropriate to change these settings in order to get a proper exposure. But this would be a good starting reference. And so the last calculator we have here is the tracker one. And so this runs a little bit differently. So instead of actually giving you a recommendation, you can specify different settings here, and then it will tell you if your image is over or underexposed. So let's say you have your tracker set up, you want to shoot 60-second exposures at ISO 1600 here, and then you want to see f1.4, is it overexposed, underexposed? According to the calculation here, this is overexposed. So then I can update my aperture to f2.8, and then it will tell me that it's underexposed a little bit, but that's probably okay. Here you'll probably be able to get a usable exposure with this. But this is, again, this is not telling you exactly what to do. This is giving you a relative estimate of how bright your image will be, right? Will it be too bright, too dark, things like this, right? This can work well for like super long exposures, and this could probably even work for some untracked images if you're doing like a really long exposure for like star trails or something like that. So if you wanted to do, I don't know, 180, I don't know what this thing's doing. All right, maybe we do not with my keyboard, 800 here, and then we see how overexposed it's going to be, right? So we want to expose by 4 stops. So if we do 400, that'll be 4 stops. Let's do f4 here. Let's see, still overexposed by 1.1 stops, but this will work unless there's like, probably work pretty well for capturing a like really, like this is what, 15-minute exposure? No, this is 25-minute exposure, or 25 or 30 minutes. I don't know, my math is not very good. This is like what? It's 30-minute exposure. But yeah, like this will give you a good reference for what's overexposed. This will probably work unless you have bright lights in your foreground, but you'll be able to capture a single exposure of like a star trails for 30 minutes with these specific settings. It should turn out pretty well. So yeah, so it's just a useful calculator for giving you a reference at how bright things are. And obviously once you have done some test shots, you know what settings are working. This will do the math really quickly for you on how you can scale up or scale down different settings. So if you're doing a 13-second exposure that's exposed properly, then you want to move to your tracker and get similar level exposure. You can make adjustments to the shutter, and then it will give you a reference for how to adjust the ISO and aperture to maintain the same level of exposure. This app is available for free on both iOS for Apple devices and Android as well. And really appreciate any feedback that you would have for me on it. And if you find any bugs, just please let me know. Thanks for watching.